worked with Vidhu Vinod Chopra to someone else who has worked with Vidhu Vinod Chopra, Vikrant Massey. So, Vikrant, you've worked across platforms. So, how have these different platforms you have worked on been game changers in storytelling for Indian storytelling specifically?
I think I've been very, very fortunate to have worked on all possible entertainment platforms. I almost did a decade of television, and then came the advent of digitization. I did quite a lot of short films on YouTube, and then again with the advent of streaming platforms, I was fortunate to work with most of them. But I think a lot has changed, Naman. The way we tell stories today and the way they are also consumed today by the audiences. I started off 21 years ago on Doordarshan, and today the consumption patterns have changed. The way we tell stories have changed. And I think it is a process which will keep evolving as we move forward. Of course, television was a door-to-door medium, and then you had the cinema experience which an average layman would save money once a month, take his family out to the big screen, and it used to be an experience. And today, all of us, most of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, are consuming entertainment on our mobile phones. One thing that has remained constant is our appetite for entertainment. There are many different formats, there are many different, now you have audiobooks coming in, you have shorter formats coming in. There is so much available today for all of us. Also at the same time, it's almost like a double-edged sword that there is also a problem of plenty. But it's there because people are consuming it. And a lot has changed. I think I'll share a very small example with you. Most of my staff, they come from very humble socio-economic backgrounds. So 10 years ago, it was impossible for me to fathom that उनको Avengers के बारे में भी कुछ पता होगा. But today I know it for a fact that most of my staff has actually seen Avengers and most of the Hollywood films dubbed in their local language, and they are able to sort of enjoy that form of entertainment. So what that does for an actor like me, Naman, is to sit back and understand that I really need to pull my socks up as an actor. Because today a guy from Sitamarhi, Bihar, or a guy from Kathmandu, Nepal, is actually watching global cinema inside a small room on his phone with his headphones plugged on. So in the last 21 years, so much has changed. But one great thing lastly I would want to say is that all of us have adopted and adapted. We need to continue doing that. Because today at Waves, we see the world is smaller. We have more than representatives from more than 90 countries here under the same roof. It's such an impeccable opportunity for all of us to connect and expand. And it is only going to grow from time to time. So, as I said, yes, our appetite for entertainment remains to be that one constant, but we also need to adapt with different formats coming in, different forms of storytellings coming in. And yeah, so from where I see it, a lot has changed, but a lot more is yet to change. So we need to adopt and adapt with moving times.
Yeah, in 2019, Bong Joon-ho's Parasite became the first non-English film to win the Best Picture Oscar. I see no reason why with platforms like Waves, why an Indian film shouldn't be up there in the years to come.
We are almost there.
Yeah.
We are almost there. In fact, we know S.S. Rajamouli sir's movie RRR was highly appreciated, not just in India, in Japan, in China, in America. Lagan was nominated so many years ago. The doors are opening and it's only going to get better from here on.
Four different perspectives on how exactly Indian cinema is changing. So always start with the lady, Sonali.
Thank you, Naman. Namaskar, everyone.
So can you walk us through the evolution of female roles in Indian cinema over the years? You can use your own career as a yardstick or bellwether.
Certainly, I might want to use my own career path because I have recently realized that I have done over 100 films in variety of. I have completed 100 films over uh, in variety of languages, though. Uh, Thankfully, I happen to work with very interesting writers and directors who who always help me realize that I am a very powerful being. I am not the one who's somehow tolerating life and suffering through sacrifices and pains. I started with Girish Karnad, and the film was called Cheluvi. It was a story about a girl who can become a tree. So that flowering tree won national award, and it was a very prominent story where that young girl sacrifices her life for her family, then for her lover, then for the lover who turns into husband, then his family. And what women forget is they forget about flowering for themselves. This was a wonderful folk tale, and I started from there. But very soon I got a chance to realize power of sisterhood in Sumitra Bhave, Sunil Suktankar's Dogi, followed by earlier Mukta by Jabbar Patel, where all women knew they were looking for their own existence. They were trying to make sense about what journey are they taking, what plight they are taking. I must mention revolutionary films that happened in India, because after this first stint, I got to work with Amol Palekar sir on Daira, where I was a man, I was a boy. So at times I feel any actress would like to be in my shoes. We've heard about Cinderella's shoes, but mine are different, and they are super enviable because the kind of roles that were offered to me. After Daira, it was Mission Kashmir. I played Nilima Khan. It spoke volumes about the current scenario in India back then, which is still relevant. We are still pained about Pahalgam incident, and I think it will take us a long time to come out of it and recover our wounded hearts and feelings. But Mission Kashmir's Nilima Khan took stand for the nation. Then was Dil Chahta Hai, where we saw a young girl who was not afraid of falling in love. She was not typical. She could tell her, जिनको मिलने वो आई है, उनको वो बताने में हिचकिचाती नहीं है कि I do have a current boyfriend. So we always wanted, we thought that we want to see कि girls are supposed to be pure, girls are supposed to be chui mui, and they are supposed to have clean characters. So Dil Chahta Hai broke this typical norm that we had in mind. Having said that, बीच में काम, don't be afraid, मुझे बाकी सारे जेंटलमैन को भी देना है माइक, तो मैं सारे 100 फिल्म्स के बारे में तो बात नहीं करूंगी, for sure. But it feels very strong that I have always portrayed woman of her own mind. Even if we decide to look at some regional cinema that I did, when I look at my Marathi cinema, there was a film called Gabri Sa Paus. A woman who's a farmer and she takes stand for her own husband. She wants him to be lively. She wants him to forget about his own shortcomings as a farmer. Tries to stand by him. and till Gulab Jam, where a woman who has forgotten everything, but she remembers one skill that she has, and that is cooking. So women in films, in my films, have always followed their passion. They have always believed in goodness of people and life, and they have been optimistic. They haven't been very, as we say, they are not molested necessarily, and their dreams are not demolished by the society.
And speaking of someone whose films have been highly appreciated, moving on to Ravi, can you walk us through the changing identity of Tamil cinema, which you are associated with? Because you have seen it in its various phases, up to and including Ponniyin Selvan, which was a massive hit across. So, so can you walk us through that, please?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great walk, I would start with that. And it's a bold walk because post-pandemic, I would say, the way we look at Tamil movies have definitely changed in the way which only we know. And now I have the opportunity to put it ahead to you because there was a creative arrest in between. During the course of the pandemic, there was a creative arrest. And it is an arrest that a new director, he gave a big hit, first film, big hit, and people kind of force him in his creative space to make another film immediately. So, and that poor guy, he was like, I took 2 years to complete this film, even in my mind and also on paper. So give me some space so that I can work towards a even better film. So when people kind of force him to do it in 2-3 months, and he was not able to, his next film would bomb. The person who gave the biggest hit of the year, the next film would bomb. I'm not saying it is lack of experience. It is lack of, the creative space that the producers or the audiences, they expect out of him. They don't give it to him. So during the pandemic, what happened was, everybody who I called, they are not upset about what is happening. They say that as filmmakers, we have some space to create something more. We have the space to create for the next 10 years. We are not going to, sit and while away time like this. I'm only using the pandemic reference for the time given to the creative process and nothing else. We all know how we went through that. But the changing face of Tamil cinema, I could see with my friends, with my co-writers, directors, everybody. They said, we have this time to put something forward. It's like an investment for 10 years. We have scripts now. Bring it on. Let's put on our working shoes. Let's bring our A game on. And I think during that course, whoever I spoke with, they were like an energy bundle of, there was a surge of creativity with them, and they started doing movies. They took their time, and they kind of created space for themselves. And I think that is one period where Tamil cinema looked in the mirror and said, okay, now the space is open. Now, as you know, all the technicians from Tamil cinema are working in Indian cinema, all over, the Hindi, Marathi, wherever you go. And we have great talents, starting with A.R. Rahman sir to Mani sir. So, not only them, even the new youngsters, they wanted to do Hindi films now. They wanted to be global now, which is a great change that I see happening to Tamil cinema. And I'm glad that I'm part of it. And I'm glad that I'm here talking to creative minds and sharing my regional cinema with world cinema. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Om, as the filmmaker, I'm going to ask you the difficult question. So, tell us
I thought you were
about,
my friend, Raman.
So, Vikrant spoke about, the global reach of Indian cinema and how we are almost there. So you are a specialist in uh, mythos and world building. So how do you marry that with the world building with Indian cinema's expanding global reach?
Uh, Thank you, Naman, and thank you, Waves, for having us here, and it's a great platform. So first of all, I would like to thank everybody at Waves for inviting us here and making this available for us to meet you guys and for you guys to meet us. It's really important. So how does one, the way I understand this question is about, how do we kind of make our Indian stories to kind of go global and vice versa? Now, we all have to remember one point very nicely, that, see, we are a nation of 140 plus crore people, correct? We are a nation which is looked at as the biggest market in the world, correct? Whether you look at the car brands, whether you look at, toothpaste brand, whether you look at chocolates, whether you look at restaurants, they're all global brands who are trying to come into India, and they're trying to set up their shops here, correct? What are they doing? They are trying to come and sell their product into our country. What does that mean? That means that we are the largest consumer market that is available to the world. Now remember one thing, we are sitting in this land, we are sitting here, and we know our sentiments, we know our brand, we know our content consumption pattern better than anybody else, correct? So why are we trying to mock the West in a very incorrect way? Why are we trying to do that? Why can't we do, and why can't we not tell our own stories in our own way? But they say not think global, act local. I think this is the real right time for us to do it. We have the best of the technology in the world. We have one of the best brains who can operate that technology in the world. We have some of the fantastic actors. We have phenomenal filmmakers. We have phenomenal technicians that are all available to us, and we do have an audience. See, first you have to be popular in your own lane. अपनी गली में जो popular होता है ना, वो पूरी दुनिया में शोहरत कमाता है. So first we have to be popular in our own lane, correct? Once we are kind of there, then we can mount on that and kind of reach the global audience. It's also about the consumption pattern globally has kind of remained in the same space. I mean, if I can take the most successful verse, since we were talking about creating world building, if we can look at the most successful verse that has happened up until date, is clearly the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Now Marvel, and because of Marvel, Disney in their peak time looked at 23% of global box office. 23% of tickets sold were for a Marvel film or for a Disney film. Now, what does that mean? A kid in Nebraska, Omaha, is also watching the same content as Vikrant's, team and staff at home, and it's the same pattern that everybody's watching. Correct? I mean, I was actually talking to Ravi some time back about how things. Like we have same Virat Kohli who's popular in the north, who's also popular in the south. We are one nation similarly. If you look at it on the
also in Sydney and Lords.
I'm sorry?
Also at the Sydney Cricket Ground and Lords.
And Sydney Cricket Ground and at Lords, correct? So the same content is consumed globally. Now, what if we kind of modified our content a little bit so that it is accessible to the global audience? And the reason one should do that is because the hunger of an artist is to reach a wider audience. The hunger of an artist is to reach more and more people. So if I can take one quick example of my own films. My first film was in Marathi. It was called Lokamanya Ek Yuga Purush. The film, and I'm going to quote numbers because the numbers actually translates to number of eyeballs who have seen it. And just to kind of digress a little bit, they always fancily say that when two investment bankers meet, they talk about art. But when few of the artists meet, they talk about money, right? So just to take a small this thing, the reason I'm quoting numbers is because that kind of translates the number of eyeballs that are there. So my first film, Lokmanya, did a box office about 14 to 15 crores into the Marathi market outside Maharashtra, inside of Maharashtra. There were only so many people who saw the film who were non-Marathi speaking people. The film did some box office in Bangalore, the film did some box office in Indore, the film did some box office in Delhi. I realized that there is a want for niche cinema in my language to reach that audience also. And I was very happy that a kid who was, you know, making a film in South Mumbai, his film was actually seen by somebody in Bangalore. It was very satisfying, correct? Then I made, my next film was Tanaji, The Unsung Warrior. Tanaji did very big number, it was about 300 crores, but it had about 14 crores collection that came from Andhra, Telangana, the Telugu speaking states. And I said, okay, this is great, because Andhra, Telangana, normally Hindi films don't make so much collection there. They'd see like 4 or 5 crores. We saw 14 crores, correct? So which was a big number. So I said, okay, great. Now, even in Andhra, people are liking our film. So then I happened to make my third film, which I actually shot in Hindi and in Telugu simultaneously. So it was Adipurush. Now Adipurush, before we even released, the Telugu market was sold for about 120 crores. I mean, I think distributor somewhere here, maybe he can quote me for the number, but it was sold for that, pre-sold for that. So which means so many people actually saw the film, correct? So the need for an artist is to reach a wider audience, correct? So if we can make our local stories so strong and tell them with our true heart, it will resonate across the world and it will resonate everywhere and people will have market for it.
Here, here.
Naman, may I add something?
Yes.
I am so curious these days that as we talk, we hardly get a chance to discuss what's happening around. This is a great opportunity for all of us to see what's happening, but see, the language is changing. Once upon a time, we used to watch cinema. We used to watch a play. We used to watch a documentary or a short film. And we used to consume food. Today we are consuming content, which is such a huge change, and which is, no, all of us use those terms, right? We talk about content, we talk about consumption. And that is where I feel that India is changing and the faces are changing, because we are here strongly to rule, because we are variety of languages, cultures, and many cinema. So we have a stronger chance to reach the global audience, since we are making so many content and there are so many people to consume that, which is great. I mean, I remember not able to watch international cinema, and we used to be wide-eyed when in Film Institute Pune, somebody from the institute, for example, Samar Nakhate, would show us a film like Bicycle Thief. I still remember. I remember watching Cinema Paradiso at Venice International Film Festival's Sala Grande Theatre. The projection was on the building. But today you don't have that fancy. You have your own Chintu gadget on which you can consume.
I think, Sonali, I do agree with you, but at the same time, I think that's what makes a storyteller. It gives them more access to reach a wider audience. So that's a huge advantage. I mean, it's no more an affluent game. It's no more, you don't really need to know Samar Nakhate to kind of have access to that cinema, or you don't really need to go to fancy film festivals to actually see films, right? It is available to everybody. The panel before us spoke about how the OTT is contributing into the growth of cinema. I think because the content is getting available everywhere, it's such a great thing. And also one more thing is that producing content is getting cheaper, right? Producing content is getting cheaper day by day. And because of the technology, I mean, I don't want to talk about the AI jargons because that kinda is overused and it's kinda getting really annoying. I personally use a lot of artificial intelligence into cinema, into production. But what is that enabling us is because of the technology interference, content is getting accessible to produce by a lot of youngsters. So you can reach a much wider audience and tell your stories the way you want to tell.
If I may just quickly, I'll just take a minute. I'll quickly add one thing. I think all of us are speaking the same language here. Just to sort of put it in a layman's term for the people who are listening to us. With the advent of OTT or digitization, so to say, the world has actually gotten so smaller. For example, if there is a movie on a Netflix, for that matter of fact, the moment my film is released on Netflix, even if it comes after theaters or whenever it goes live, it is catering to more than 96 to 100 countries at one go. And we are doing the same. You spoke of a Parasite. So the moment I go and I click on that option, I have more than 10 to 12 language options there. And lastly, what a YouTube is also doing to a young person from a B town or a C town city is, it is also giving them money. They're getting paid for it. They are able to sort of not just sit in one room and dream about doing certain things. Today, with a selfie light and a single phone, you can actually reach the world. So, and as you said, so rightly said, lastly, I'll just quote you, like if, because of digitization and access, if you're able to sell or pre-sell your film for 120 crores, you've made a large chunk of your production budget, and hence you can actually go out there and make more movies. And all these platforms, whether it is cinema, whether it is satellite, whether it is music, or even the digital platforms, they are all working in tandem with each other. Unfortunately, what I also sort of hear a lot of young minds say ki, yaar, ye alag mediums hain, but they are all working together towards the same goal, which is to entertain you, to reach to you either through a cinema screen or your mobile phone. So that is what I just wanted to sort of put it in a layman's term to the audiences.
And picking up from what Om and Sonali said, and staying with you, Vikrant, I think there's no one better than you to talk about the other change that has happened in the changing face of Indian cinema, which is the rise of rooted small town narratives bursting across the national consciousness. Using 12th Fail as a very good example. I don't think there's anyone here who has not seen 12th Fail at least twice, right? So how do you see that change progressing in terms of storytelling?
Thank you for asking me this, but I still feel I am not qualified enough to answer this in depth. I'll try. As I said, cinema a few years ago used to be an experience for a layman. To see, much is more, larger than life. एक आदमी 20 लोगों को मार रहा है. जो हम सब ने देखा है. We've grown up watching it. We still watch it. But a large chunk of it also goes to our own exposure to international cinema and a certain sense of pragmatism, even in storytelling. With smaller towns, with a common man becoming a hero in case 12th Fail, or from where I see it, there was an Ayushmann Khurrana film called Dam Laga Ke Haisha. I think it all began from there. A lot of factors come into it, sir. I'll try breaking them down really quickly. We hardly have little time. Yeah, right from that time, but from when not so much commercial success, but also today, what I feel, Om sir, is what was alternate, say maybe 15 years ago, is mainstream today. I can never imagine a film like 12th Fail, or I can never imagine a film like Dam Laga Ke Haisha, or, a Trapped, for that matter of fact, which Vikramaditya Motwane made, to be commercially successful. So, a lot of factors come into play, firstly, because I think relatability. An average man, I'll just stick to 12th Fail and I'll quickly sum it up. Most of the people I am also meeting here, they are actually saying thank you for 12th Fail because wo hamari kahani hai. So when people say ki, when they see themselves or someone they know of, their brother, their sister, when they see someone alike on the screen triumphing, there is a sense of hope which is still alive within us. Lastly, why are most of us moving to smaller towns is also because of subsidies, sir. ठीक है, very straightforward answer is this. जो स्टेट सरकार हमें अच्छी सब्सिडी देती है, जो अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देती है, हम वहीं जाते हैं. And case in point, UP. You go to UP today, there is a single window there. आप वहाँ पे 2 हफ्ते के अंदर आप टर्न अराउंड कर सकते हो. आप अपनी पिक्चर वहाँ ले जा सकते हो. पहले सिर्फ मुंबई में इंडस्ट्री होती थी, अब दिल्ली में भी इंडस्ट्री है. आपको वो सारे इक्विपमेंट्स दिल्ली में भी मिलेंगे, ओवरनाइट लखनऊ पहुँच जाएगा. तो बहुत सारे परम्यूटेशंस, कॉम्बिनेशंस हैं. And also because people want to see those stories, those stories which were unheard of. A smaller town, जो diversity की हम बात कर रहे हैं. Yesterday Modi ji said this so beautifully that in a nation of 140 crores, we have more than 100 crore stories. And we are tapping into those smaller stories, bigger stories, larger than life stories. And I think it's just beginning. Regional cinema, for that matter of fact. Thanks to COVID and these streaming platforms, that a lot of these regional films or short stories have actually become accessible to us because we were home. So yeah, I mean, that's what I see it as.
And just carrying on from that thought with Ravi, you know, you do a balance between your grounded roles and scale. I mean, Ponniyin Selvan is, obviously it had a very, very strong story, but it was also about scale. So in today's world where on the one hand the screen has become this, on the other hand you still have the big IMAX screen, as an actor, how do you navigate between rootedness and scale?
Yeah, just because you started with Ponniyin Selvan, I would like to continue with that. Ponniyin Selvan particularly is a tale which all of the Tamil people were waiting to see only on big screen. Started from Mr. MGR, Shivaji Ganeshan, then it transformed to Mr. Vijay and Mahesh Babu. Then somehow it came to us, me and Karthi and Vikram sir did Ponniyin Selvan. So this was a tale which we were waiting to be heard. So even if you give us 100 million rupees, we will not watch it on small screen. We will not watch it on the phone. It made about 500, 600 crores, nearly 600 crores. So that will not happen if people wanted to watch it on the small screen. So I think we should somewhere try and avoid the blame of saying that, you know, nowadays cinema has come into small screen, cinema has come into the phone. For learning, yes, you can shoot the movie, you can edit the movie, grade the movie, do a re-recording on your phone and release it in YouTube from your phone. All that is great. For an assistant director now to learn something, he doesn't need to be on the spot. He has everything on the phone. So that has become very easy. All I'm saying is, big screen will not fade away. If the Gen Z is going to be not so attentive or their attention span is a little less, I saw a reel where the movie is going on and there is a reel parallel to that in the theater screen, and whenever they feel bored they watch this instead of doing that. So I don't think the future is going to become like that. I wish it won't become like that. So when you talk about big screens, that is where we get our money from. And only for the long run of the movie, we use the small screen, we use television, we use whichever OTT platform that is. Let them have their share. Let them take whatever beyond the remuneration of the actors or the profit that we get out of the big screen. Let them have it all. I mean, we want to share. We will share. And that is how the industry will work. Codependency, I love that. But the experience on the big screen, forget Ponniyin Selvan, because it is our story of our land. We have to witness on the big screen. But even otherwise, a Manumal Boys, for example, from Kerala, you know, everybody watched it on screen because it was a theater experience. They made their money, they got their respect out from the movie. So I think it will always stay intact. The big screen will always be part of our heart all the time for movies.
The one thing, we're talking about the changing face of Indian cinema. The one thing that will never change about Indian cinema is emotions. So can blockbusters coexist with emotional depth?
I feel 100%. I want to add to, you know, Ravi's pondering on big screen. I absolutely agree with you, Ravi. Having said that, at the same time, Indian cinema, thanks to directors and writers, they are bringing very original people. The faces are changing. The traditional way of thinking of what was beautiful and what was handsome or macho is definitely changing. We are talking emotions there. We want faces, we want personalities who can translate emotions very well, because audience is very clear that tell us a story which we understand, it touches my heart. So blockbuster has to have those emotions, and we cannot rule out blockbusters as money makers and art house cinema, which is hardly there anymore thanks to multiplexes and growing mediums in India. We have a very enriched audience today who understands good cinema, good acting, good writing, good editing for that matter. People talk about production value and costumes, which tells us so much about Indian audience. So I feel all these changing definitions are making heroes and heroines out of us, and which feels more powerful and meaningful.
I think on that perfect note, we have to call a halt to this panel. Thank you all so much. Thank you.